After an unsuccessful attempt by Lokia to bring Asgard democracy to Earth and Apodmok to nothing by the army of Chitauri, there was a bunch of planetary drachnet left in New York, which the world's most famous misers decided to grab for themselves. However, not immediately, because there were more important deals than collecting planetary weapons from the street, and that's why the New York authorities quickly attracted non-governmental structures with strict control, and to a non-official from the street, who had just opened an office. I bought equipment for work. I put everything into it. I could lose the house. And when the parts on planetary technologies were already wasted in an unknown direction, Stark finished his dancing. Still takes his hands on collecting for planetary scrap. At the same time, the ambassador in Pesci is more important than all other contractors. Well, the main thing is when he can throw millions on the picture. Very characteristic. Canvas, but, yes, the price is not too high. Want. He screamed to compensate for the losses with a local slave. I'm sorry, but I can't help you. Ah, I am the one. That's what father did. That's what America does. And since Tony is in the subway, I jump over the turnstile. Stark. I clamp down on the Dinja even for those who had to carry out the overthrow of the terrorization of all on planetary materials. The inventory, the protocol, became accepted, fingerprinting. Ah, there are a lot of useful loot left for the accomplices, which they immediately decide to monetize. After all, the team of Adrian had their own super engineers with the brains of Stark, Rocket and Shuri. For the first time in 8 years, they were able to make unearthly materials with unknown physical properties. But the catcher collect flying suits and weapons. The truth is, instead of a lot of money, to sell weapons to the diapolitical enemies of the United States and to sell them for pennies by a local bandit. Are you crazy or something? And while a gang of janitors are closing the last loans, business will be divided. Tony, Condom and Erase Stark, continues to count every penny. After all, after Petka helped him destroy the airport in Berlin, he didn't even give him any change for the honor of the burger. He also appointed a security chief to his driver, a state farm of guards in one bottle. Hepitvoy curator. Neto voti him. When he already has a lot of work, because in order to hire a separate person who would follow Petka 24/7, we need to allocate money for salaries. Yes, and when Tony is at work, sugar is full. Stark is constantly talking about the need to create an army of superheroes, in case I survived on a planetary dusting. Decides to celebrate a demob on Earth. You need to be the last degrader, so as not to write down the lessons in the stack. Start training him and brainwash young people on the right views. Dalbanot is just that's all. But never mind. Soon Venom will come to them in the universe and then he will show the student the right views. Well, what kind of Peter Parker would be without the full break gene? He would be afraid to meet a girl he's been in love with since conception. Only it's not Mary Jane, but a girl who has arrived. With the release of the Solar Garia, as Daryl would say, Mr. Parker, you also like to poke a chocolate bar. Yes. The sadness is that the bite of the shelf, which gives superpowers, cannot raise the level of the test from the throne, also reduces the brains in diameter, because the most dangerous criminals, that Petya Kalos are robbing Levelikov. When in a Stark suit he could close the Panarch with a cartel a day. He showed me the way by acorns, not horses. To earn money, yes. But one day running past Esperbank, Petyaka gets a chance from the universe, but since the settings for Petty's intelligence are from the Neanderthals, instead of being replaced, all the pricks should be wrapped up in duck. I decided to get into a beautiful pose, and when I got burned, let's sell bandits with the power of a child, because he doesn't know that it's better not to joke with freaks who have an unknown appearance. Plus, when he neutralized the bandos, he decided to chat with him, and did not neutralize the second Spushka and, thanks to which the owner of his favorite cafe, gets such a direct hint of major repairs. I've tried everything. And when Petro spent 10 seconds to save a cat from a fire, I didn't even try to find the escaped criminals, but I was more pleased with the reaction of Hepia, who didn't even listen to the kid, about the turnover, and about the planetary weapons on the streets of New York. No time for an ATM. Robbing your touching notes. Are you an idiot? That's a great question. And this, when Heppy, not so long ago, had such a high suspicion of unhealthy things, that he just decided to follow the type who behaved like an asshole. Thanks to this, he came to the contour of the heaters, and helped Stark close it with the help of Veshka iron soldiers. Tired of it? Well, when will it all end? Never. And since Petka is 17, he doesn't know that you can't leave your things in alleys. Oh, what's in you? Luxic alcohol. And speaking in Russian, alcohol, journal. And we have to go home in a work outfit. And already at home his super reaction batteries run out. Since he didn't feel his coccyx, that his sidekick was hanging out in his room. Not Stark, who wasn't so fucking happy, that he had Spider-Man as a friend now. And now, even with his mirror disease, he will be able to find a girl for himself. Just like Fat Ramgo. The next day in physical education, Parker hears that the fox followed in the footsteps of Regina, and also out of the blue, fell in love with the herpami of someone in a spider mask. I got into Spider-Man. Oh, it seems, who has not breathed in Russia. Well, since Petka is faster than the staff to the bone, the more she will call us to see. Boloyang's son decides to help his sidekick. Pater is familiar with him, and Petka immediately receives invitations from the girl to the party. If, of course, he brings a spider for her tech. She shouldn't have started this. Such irresponsibility. Look at the pick-up lessons in your fingers, and stop wringing eggs. The Kints are going to a party, and only Leningrad tried on a suit, and I imagined how he would do the same trick as his brother in the shop from the multi-universe. As he notices a flash of plasma, and there is no need to score on it, and go to the Shork from Sobliska. I rushed off to see what was going on there. But they're Bandovornikov show bandos. What are weapons capable of? In order to test a cannon with a huge axis, it is necessary in the city. Yes, well, it's going to get a lot worse. And while Petka was deciding in which pretentious pose to attract the attention of the bandos, the phone is not turned off for him. And again forgetting to wind up the wipers on the duck. Petro ran to get Pussy El Yashki, because I forgot that men have super technologically advanced weapons in their hands. KSFSP. XFFFFF. Egg crushing. It's not even easy to laugh. Well, after that, Patik has already decided to try the role of a Vinnik, and the ass began to collect garbage from the road. Namu liked it so much, that he didn't even try to dump the janitor on the duck, who started watering him, and Petka is so helpless, that his opponents disarm themselves. And just as Petrov was about to capture Twerks according to the father, the director of the company is announced and conducts a pay tour over the city. And then Petka decided to kill a gift from Tony in winter. You can ask Stark for snow, in which Krokobor provided a powder, but spared a penny for a spare one, in case of such a situation. Grave greedy guy can only be fixed, though, because when there's a built-in camera in Pook's suit, Tony saw a match and sent an Iron Malibu lifeguard to help. He didn't send it. Vaska Iron Saltak to capture the vulture. And when even Petka realized that Tony didn't care about anything, and offered his help, Zadi you go said not to show off, and continue to remove cats from trees. Forget about this vulture, I beg you. Why? Because I said so. With a focus on helping ordinary people. Although if Tony Stark takes the leftovers from the restaurant, worries about the health of the youngster, it becomes unclear why the hell he took him to the superhero mixwhite, in which Allah and the witch could turn him into stuffing for cabbage rolls. And you're a complete psycho. And I would like to praise Petka for the fact that the gun lost by the bandits, he decided to study it himself. They gave the figure to Stark, but he says it's better to call him a psychiatrist. Raznesvestno on planetary crap decided not to study in the abandoned, and at school, you can also hit them with a hammer, not thinking that she will demolish the whole building from such damage. Well, the diagnosis. Shahiko. Well, in order for Petka to stay with his cocoons, the explosion of dangerous crap only provokes their pulse, and even a tip from the bandit guards. Yes, only the boobies got fucked up and allowed themselves to be fooled about the Jeep. And when they stopped in Ashington, and Petka doesn't even have money for a ruble of chewing gum, he decides to get there with a schoolboy tour, which purely by chance goes to the capital, which is Jeepeden. That's only when Happy himself got in touch with him. I see you on the screen. Have you left New York? You'd have to be a complete fool not to say that you were following bandits. After all, a 15-year-old boy who has already missed the same K-bandos twice, and almost died. I decided that I could handle them for the third time. And how is it that Tony himself is not interested in buying clothes out of season Stark? Who did this Petka bug with his suit on? Well, it's a small thing that when there is an artificial intelligence in the suit, he did not tell Stark that Petka had sharpened a camera with a bug from the suits. But when Let's Eat, I found a bunch of cool chips on the suit's hard drive. There's a whole bunch of other subsystems here. But are they all disabled? Bratacolum Hadenki. Then passing the MNS, it breaks the Stark system in a couple of seconds. And it turns on under the system, because I connect Stark to the neighbor's Wi-Fi. I tried to put a normal protection protocol on the suit, like a scientist dumb as a cork. Dapet is just like that. I went to catch Bandos without even studying what kind of option he activated the suit. For some reason, Washington also dragged Washington with him to the planetary horseradish, without thinking that she can irradiate radiation. Oh, he's just a terrible jerk. And the costume turns out to be very top-end. Here is Yandex Alice with a navigator, and the exploration mode and a lot of combinations. Shooting with a white substance. Access to Pizza 70 possible comments with Treba. Respect Tony for not telling Petka about it. Even when he called him, shot him with Steve Rogers. The guy in the armored campfire. To settle someone without it. The dumbest thing on earth. Give me some milk. Wait a minute on the roof. Petka meets Pernatov, who decided to rob Stark's cars with drachmetal, with the help of a fitting, from the installation portal, which successfully succeeds. Because Tony, Salonina for the winter, I'm preparing Stark. I saved on a couple of military convoy vehicles. Petka also gets on the truck with the help of Igor Zakadrovich. To show off, they're only Zavelin below the waist. After all, instead of jumping inside and just knocking out the robber, I waited for him on the roofs, until he gets out here to take away the loot, and go to Makach when the man sits down in a suit. Not the best plan. Who would speak? Well, how to swing. Still trying to take away the loot, having scored on the neutralization of the robber himself. But when Petka flew into the container, and Edrin turns off the portal, then he also manages to knock himself out. If you want to do something, well, do it yourself. Petka wakes up already at the Chitorsky Drachmetal warehouse, whereas Tony and the Gertz grow Stark in their garden. I didn't even install one video to the camera. Once when some dude here started to suffer shit, the special forces didn't rush in here right away and didn't tie him up. And since there is not enough strength to open the door, because Holland could not wire, but he decides to build a bomb out of the drachmetal. But Alice diagnoses him that he is a complete fucker. I thought of taking Falavoy to the stone with me. This explosion is a dangerous core, Chitora. Wait. We brought a bomb with us. And since the network does not catch to inform the dumpling about the bomb, Petka breaks the lock at once. Because Tony, the gasolines of the neighbors' cars are drained by Stark, even locks in warehouses and on planetary weapons, bought cheap. And I don't need it. Ah, it's over and the rich. Getting through to before going to bed Poava in pizza. Sing Kolakuit that they are the only Abobo on the planet when he finds out that 50,000 colors. Took with him Edro. And since calling Stark and asking for help is too shameful, Petka decides to be a hero himself once again. And people would have died because of his stupidity, if it weren't for the alternative physics director. Thanks to which, no one even had burns left when the energy release of Edra brought out and built a whole elevator. Alice tells me what kind of Petka he is. A complete fucker. And that it is necessary to save his future sex faster, while the elevator is still blocked. Well, the policeman is already potifoldus with the intelligence of the river window. They know perfectly well that the payday is their own kid, and they still decide to arrest him when he rushed to save him from people, and asking Alice to turn on the song. Hop, Musarok, bottom with a mince. Petka turns a cool Saltica, and flies into the building. Just fits into the timing to save the scales, the last moment. And Lishka is straight to match Petka. I decided to stay in the next elevator. Blagopetka did not scamshoot the whole halfway, otherwise, she would have had an unpleasant meeting with the morgue. Well, when Petka had to pick up his love, drive around the city and sit down in an alley, he decided to leave in English. Trust me, he's not that way. And Tony, on the fact that I buy Stark in the bazaars, gets the first score. And I wouldn't pay attention to the fact that Petka was near the Washington Monument. when Mychok showed that he was in the hotel, and I don't need it. And since it's not enough to poop 3 times in a row, he tries again to shit with the Turbiatnik. And when he gets on the ferry, it becomes interesting. Why does Parker need the film when there is Alice, who spent a minute exploring the ferry? And I found out that the deal will be near the cars, and I don't even doubt that if she controlled the suit, she would harm the bandos much more effectively. But I'm Sin Stump. I'm a woman with experience. They are brainless basher. But in the costume of Petka, who again forgets that he can wind up enemies by duck, and goes to them hand to hand. But this time the victory is for the spider, and it only remains to have enough of the leader of the janitors. How Dodiki and Slabber again forget who is their own and decide to arrest Poke. Until the time of Edrin, get into the suit, and start opening new vacancies in the Bureau of Investigation. Well, the FBI called Tony to them. In one bath, I wash Stark 3 times, so as not to cause. Vi, tell the good soldiers, so that you don't have to spend money on oil and parts replacement later, and there would be no need to throw spider bombs at the vulture. Peter tries it only for the thinnest threads. And then, with the help of an electric web, I thought of shorting a weapon with an explosive crystal. I also didn't take it out. I didn't throw it out of the water, but glued it on the deck, thanks to which the gun overheats, and saw steam on the floors. Well, that's where they stopped throwing Peter, for when he creaked the whole ship with dozens of cobwebs, that broke as with a Paget, he decided that 2 would definitely withstand the entire ferry, and from lifelong remorse for the death of hundreds of people, Petka is saved by Tony himself. I connect Stark to the neighbor's electric switch, which was purely by chance nearby, and had a bunch of necessary mini-engines at my disposal. And okay, the internet is expensive to track an iron partridge from a satellite. But why Tony, at work? I wind up the toilet paper Stark, wished for 2 rubles to ring in the hedgehog, and ask him to track the so-called crow to the base and grab it. How did you do that, Nikrito? I went crazy. And since I borrow Tony by the string, and I forget to give Stark, I have already hesitated to give up my vacation on the throne. Parker. He sends the kid an indefinite vacation. Come back with that. Glory to Skalnet. You don't have to put up with him anymore. For why would Stark have a dumb guy like Dostostok in the team, who, when he saw the gang leader, didn't even tell him to watch the video of the suit, in order to run his face through the database, punch the residential address and arrest him? So how was it with the first Parker? After losing the motivation of the superhero case, the third Parker decides to take up his personal life, and after drinking a box of Beulah, he finally gets up the courage to confess to Liski's feelings, and call her to the prom. Will you come with me? Yes, yes. And Vilev on a spice vacation. Petka comes in to Solace, where his SPHINCTS are pressed down to the larynx, after learning that her father, the head of the janitor gang, well, hello. And instead of scolding the male, I don't always ask for a discount to the Stark, that he found the leader of the janitors? He stupidly drove all the way to school staring out the window, or he would have written at all that he was captured, and Stark would have been here in minutes. Are you sick? Who are you after that? And then Edrin realizes that the singing voice is too familiar to him, and Batman's experience helps him to determine who Parker really is in 2 accounts. Well done, half-breed man. And since Petka is late Edrina, from the funeral to the closed coffin, according to the laws of the Nimich family, Edrin decides to give him a chance. Otherwise, I will kill you and everyone you love. I'll kill you all. I will do anything for my family. Salute me and surname. For the family. I'll start a family. With all due respect, I'll start. But since Edrin also threatened Petka's family, you just made a big mistake. Parker decides to do everything himself again, when everything could be solved with 1 call to the police. But there is nothing that motivates you to deal with a vulture, like 3 failures of a showdown with a vulture. And you won't have enough. The cynics will not put the Svili back, and only Petka flies out of the building, as he gets into the Klebosaznik from the Podsaznik of Edrin, whom Otto, with the help of the Montager and Bashevich, set up at the entrance. And when these critters have a sizzling in the dust of a friend, this cloven-hoofed one is forced to kill a nimble superhero, with some kind of hydraulic, in the air hammer. Uncle, like a fool. And Petka together with Palatina slingshots. I also lost my brains. Once I didn't think to tear off the wheel and pull it into a bandosa. Even the earth can't stand up. But when 40 whites appear at a time, and uses a canvas against the horseradish of a woodpecker, he immediately wakes up a second Bihani. Such miracles. And there are no such wheels in the suit. Petka asks for 600 liters of whole milk. Replace it, and orders to track his phone. And when he gets to the warehouse, Peter decides to fight again, instead of unexpectedly attacking Edren. It didn't even occur to him that there might be a person here, who would arrange a meeting with his parents. Drunk, or what? What's it? They don't look alike. And when Petka moaned, the whole movie was the first PAX in Aftava. Edren quickly climbs to second place, because when he knew that Petka would come, then he came up with the most degraded plan to kill him. Having launched his suit on an autopilot, he decided not to fix the schoolboy. What would the most drenched drunkard have guessed? To break the column so that he would be crushed by debris. A man with domesticated bones, also left to rob Stark's plane, without checking whether Petka was alive or not. And as soon as Parker remembered the incendiary speech, he lowered Solarreach. Millions come and go. Happiness is not in them, but the most important thing. It's a family. And he is ready, once again, to rush into battle, against someone who has already beaten him 4 times. It's a fucking straight son of a bitch. And since Edren knew that Parker would come to his garage, I didn't remove it from the monitor screens. Parker gets his next target, that he's going to rob Stark's plane. And he runs to his tower, also runs so slowly that he runs to the tower, and catches the closed one at the last second. That's just interesting. How Petka thought to fight in the air with Pernit, if he has nothing but a spider's web and there is nothing behind the French, which prevented him from jumping on Stark's tower, and say, happy, that they want to hijack the plane. To Tony in shopping malls, I wash Stark, throw my ass in a suit, and figure it out myself. Well, Tony, I wash Stark's clothes on the river, has already surpassed himself. The artificial intelligence of the aircraft, which has cameras on all sides, cannot detect the person treating for not a man in a suit. There is no security inside, because the billionaire decided to save money to remain a billionaire, and the aircraft software, of course, has no protection, which allows Edren to hack, disable navigation, and send a false target for your drones. And it works, because Tony, the old shoes with superglue, I glue Stark, did not want to spend money on a spare beacon. Hey, magic, I'm at prayers, it's not a bedroom. I agree, but I'm on a Hadoon. And when Edren is provided with such swag for the rest of his life, he, having noticed the UKA, freaks out like a teenager, and in an attempt to split Parker's acrolemia, damages an airplane with valuable cargo. A businessman sucks from him, straightens emotions, where you need to be calm, like Udolph, and make informed decisions, and not on emotions. So the secret is, to come up with a fucking, unrealistic and basic, in which those who are listening should believe. Then it is not then that you season it with small, such drinkable details. Without any specifics there, I'm just nonsense that no one will make up. And if he had at least an old noggin with him, then the problem with the regiment would have been solved in 5 seconds. And in order to accurately fix the Stark years, Edren first, together with Petka, wash off 2 engines, and then with his oblique blows, he also outputs 3. When the barge is about to collide with the ground, Edren decided to smash the fuselage, to get the metal to fight, because this cold does not know what you can take in the car after the crash. As a result, for his criticism, explodes along with the plane, damage it in your suit. But again he jumped to the side, because he knew that he had a toilet for the main characters, thanks to which his suit was not even burned, and from the injuries only ringing in the ears. And so when Petka covered the family business with Edren on copper basins, and he promised to kill him for it, instead of multiplying Petka by 0, I left him on the sides for only a minute. I put him alive, by switching to a box with reactors, and then to see Edren, after breathing smoke, went to the roof and decided to fly with a box of reactors, when his engine is about to explode. And since in such a technological suit, it is not provided on the overload warning system, Edren is not waiting for a dive down, and as fried as it is more suitable for turkeys. But since the textured Makel Keaton can be useful for sequels, instead of fatal burns, he only gets to dig on his face, but I give Tony, a fly in the restaurant to the court, I raise a scandal stark, a full-fledged one begins. Thanks to Petka he lost the plane with Chittorian drachmetals, for tens of millions, and he praises him and invites them to become teachers. I just got covered, on a large scale, but why did I fix everything? With a good mentor? You will easily join the team. Although if Petka had reported to the police in the car, that Edrin was the leader of a gang of janitors, then the plane with the drachmetals could have been completely saved. But Petka is not a fool in terms of money. Know that the Avengers are paid only bonuses thanks, or did he pay you? There's a lot wrong today. We have a very large loan, and therefore people are ready to help. He refuses to be an Avenger, and perhaps this is the only film about the Pokeman, in which the Pokeman did absolutely nothing. Edrin himself freaked out, destroyed the plane, and decided to fly on a broken suit, thanks to which he got caught. Before Pook's suit under Alice's control, he would have done a much better job than Parker himself.